Thank you for tuning into the Zelos podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Snyder. This week, Barry Butt's in the house with me. He has been the performance coach for so many NHL stars and promising stars. But before we get underway, remember this July 16th to the 19th, the NSCA 2025 National Conference is going to be happening in Kansas City, Missouri. I'll be there and hope you will be too, as well as the 3-day functional summit for Perform Better. We've got June, Chicago, July, Long Beach, California, August, Providence, Rhode Island. Be sure to check out my website, rockysnyder.com. We've got new wedge kits, we've got blogs, podcast archives, a whole bunch more. Continuing education. Speaking of education, check out Setanta College. Enter RS10 when you sign up for your master's course, and you can get 10% off tuition today. Follow us on Instagram at Rocky_Snyder, SNYDER. Click that dang subscribe button now and enjoy the conversation. Barry, first of all, welcome to the Zelos podcast. It's a joy to have you on here.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the invite.
Now, you reminded me that our paths had crossed not too long ago at an NSCA conference, and there's just so many people there. I hate to say it, there's just so many faces that I'm glad you recalled. Maybe it's
Yeah.
my previous indiscretions that mess with my memory, but I'm glad we were able to connect today. So that's
Well,
a really good thing.
well, when
Tell
you're
me,
the guy standing at the front of the room talking, it's easy to remember you, right? You got to remember everybody in attendance. So I don't blame you for not remembering. No problem.
well, I will work harder at that, my friends. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, you and I, we've been in this industry a heck of a long time now. And somebody just told me, which blew my mind, was that prior to COVID, the average trainer stays in the industry for about 4 years or so. Post COVID, it's more like 6 months to a year. So,
Wow.
uh, no matter what we say right now, we can come back in 6 months and it'll be a whole new audience, and they'll be like, "Wow, this is great stuff." So we don't have to keep increasing, staying up to the Joneses because the Joneses keep moving out of the neighborhood, I guess. Um,
I
but
guess so.
tell me a little bit about your journey, because yeah, you started in the 90s in terms of your business, but give us a little understanding to the listening audience who Barry Butt is, where you're located up in the Great
Yeah.
White North, and what you've been doing.
Yeah, I have a bit of a unique journey, I guess, compared to your typical strength coach, especially your American strength coaches. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. That's where we're based. Big city for up here, but small city compared to most U.S. cities. But a huge hockey population where we are. That's the sport. Starting to see more and more athletes coming from other sports in this area, but hockey is primarily what I do, the athletes that I train. But that's who the athletes are here. That's who the top athletes are in this area. As far as my path goes, I actually grew up in a really small town in northern Alberta. So for most people, Edmonton is really far north. I grew up 8, 9 hours north of Edmonton in a very small community just south of the Northwest Territories. So a different path, like just grew up playing sports in a town of 3,500 people, have 3 younger brothers. We were all good athletes. We all played sports. Being a strength coach was not really a thing, like nothing that was ever on my radar. Just kind of played sports, worked out, with what we had available to us. And it was just a passion, right? It was just something that I love to do. The plan was actually always to be a phys ed teacher. That was,
It sounds like your parents' plan was to build a hockey team. All they
well,
needed was one more boy, and you could field the
yeah.
team on the ice.
Yeah, that's true. There was four of us, and yeah, one more, and we would have had a team. And that's quite often what would happen, right? When you'd just go out and play pickup hockey, it would be, you know, call us up, and right away you had four guys, and then you just pick up a few more, and we could play a game, right, or play early
Awesome.
scrimmage or whatnot. But yeah. So like I said, the plan was maybe to be a phys ed teacher. I look back on it now, and super fortunate to have teachers that were into athletics, into sport, into track and field, things like that growing up that kind of laid a foundation for training. Like I think I had a conversation with one of my trainers the other day about some of the stuff that we're doing, or that we're, that's kind of coming around, that, as we did 20 years ago. And I'm like, man, my high school track coach had me doing this stuff in, the late 80s. And it's just like, fortunate to have people like that kind of laid a foundation for, hey, I like this stuff. This stuff's pretty cool. And then kind of started down that path of being a phys ed teacher, and realized I really didn't like teaching all that much. Or I shouldn't say I don't like teaching. I didn't want to be stuck in a school just sitting there, teaching classes and so forth. Was always pretty good in the gym. That stuff came easy to me, understood it really well. So just kind of went down that path. And when I started, there wasn't really anybody doing this in Edmonton. Like in 97, 98, there wasn't really anybody. There was a couple of people that started training athletes. We didn't really have that many great facilities at the time like we do now. So very fortunate to get into it at the right time from a business standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really didn't take off until, I would say, the last 10 or 15 years, truly. I mean, it
Absolutely.
was it was
Absolutely.
growing and all that. But s- so you did you go to school for strength
Yep.
conditioning?
Yep. Yep. So did my first 2 years at a small college in Grand Prairie, Alberta. It was a community college, closer to home, still 4 hours, 5 hours away from home, but closer to home. When you're a small town kid, moving to the big city is a big deal, right? So
Yeah.
went there, did 2 years of schooling there. Again, fortunate. I look back and I'm thinking about some of my instructors, and they were incredible, and why they were teaching at these colleges in northern Alberta beyond me, but they were really, really good. Like, I've since taught at a university, and I look back and think, man, I had some good instructors. I had some really good people around me back then, teaching me the basics, right? So did those 2 years, then transferred to the University of Alberta, which is a big school in Canada. I mean, it's pretty renowned for its education and so forth. So went to University of Alberta, and that's where I basically finished my schooling there.
And you followed the certification paths, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
down the whole. I mean, CSCS,
yeah.
FMS. What are some of the certifications that stand out aside from the previously mentioned?
Um, I mean, CSCS definitely, and I still preach that to all the guys that work for me. I mean, that's a must. You have to get that. I mean, I've been CSCS since 2000. That's kind of the big one. I've done a lot of other stuff. I've done FMS. I've done FRC. I've done all that stuff. For me, more of a, to me, they're not certifications that you need to get, but they're good courses to do for just continuing education, and just kind of learning how other people think and how other people look at it. I've tried everything, and I've kind of dove into everything, like RPR, Cal Dietz's stuff. Like,
Sure.
we're into that. I actually went and did the what does he call it? Be activated course with Douglas Heel, which is where
Nice.
the RPR stuff came from. Eye opening, different, but very, like, I think that stuff is cool. Like, I'm I'm a believer that, I mean, the human body is so interesting and so unique. Like, some of the stuff that you do with the foot stuff, that stuff is all worth doing, worth trying, worth playing with, worth learning about, because you never know where it's going to lead you. Like, we do RPR with our athletes. Some buy in, some don't.
And do you do that? Because I do. I've had Cal on in the
Yeah.
past, and he was kind enough to share a lot of the performance reset, the RPR stuff with me
Hmm.
too, and I dig it myself. Implementing it and integrating it is always kind of a challenge based on the individual. I'm sure you'll attest to
Hmm.
that. But how do you work, say, reflexive performance reset into your work?
Kind of two ways. So, first off, we just basically teach the athletes how to do it, and then they do it on themselves. And that's kind of the start of our workouts each day. Come in, okay, guys, do your RPR. Some fully buy in, believe in it. Others, not so much, and that's fine. Whatever, that's fine. Just, let's do it and see if it works. Then what we will do with our athletes a lot of times, exactly what they teach in the course. Do some muscle testing on them. Do an RPR. Do a reset. Do a muscle test again. quite often it's amazing how they see the change right away. And once you show the athletes how it might work and kind of explain to them um, the purpose of it and how it works, and I'm a big believer in it because we see it all the time where you we don't really attack the nervous system in a sense that are things firing properly, are things working properly, we're doing exercises, but
But
are
with
you
an
using
assumption.
yes with an
We're just
assumption.
assuming that the nervous system is behaving the way it should be, but we
Absolutely.
know, honestly, we really know it isn't. But
Yeah,
many of us go, well, okay, if it isn't, then what do I do? And well, that's where
exactly.
RPR comes in, and some other places
Yeah.
come in.
And some other like isometric type stuff comes in there
Yeah.
too. I don't know how familiar you are with Ken Kanakin's work. He does the Swiss conference. If you're familiar with that,
No,
yeah.
but I'm going to look up it
Oh,
now.
you should. Yeah, Ken's a chiropractor by trade, and
Nice.
he's run the Swiss conference for ever, and I mean he gets some big names talking at this conference, and a lot of like the fringe strength and conditioning world, the power or
Sure.
the not power lifters, the more strongman and guys like that, like Bill Kazmaier, guys like that, or he has
Uh-huh.
talk. Christian Thibodeau always talks at it, and so, anyways, I went and did a muscle testing course with Ken, and along the same lines as RPR is the way I look at it. It's his whole thought is, okay, we muscle test. This isn't really working right now. Let's see if we can turn on that nervous system, and he'll do it through just some basic isometric work, and it's 10 seconds in two directions kind of thing. It's if you're looking at the shoulder, and then you retest, and you're like, oh, that feels strong. That turned on. Something changed. RPR kind of works along the same way. Like we will do that with our athletes, where if they'll have whatever going on, sore back, that's kind of a big one. And then we're like, okay, well, how are you extending your hip? And we'll check hip extension, and lo and behold, they're using their QL to extend their hip. So then we're looking at, okay, maybe doing the RPR reset for the glute will change some of that. And then next thing you know, oh, that feels better. That feels better. Maybe it doesn't. Then you maybe give them some isometrics, and then you retest again. Does that feel better? Yeah, maybe it does. And then you can start going to do your actual work, get into your squats, get into your lunges, because the pattern is now, or you hope the pattern is now better, and they're gonna, you know, hip extend through their glutes and through their hamstring and then their QL, right? They're not actually just use their QL. We see that a lot in hockey, right? When we see guys skating and their backs get sore, well, that is just simply because the glute is not doing its job, right? It's
Sure.
they're using their QL, they're using their low back, whatever it is, to extend their hip, and they get really sore from that. And quite often, it's just that simple resetting the nervous system. As simple as it sounds, or as weird as it sounds, it seems to work. Like,
So that's great, and I'm glad you bring the hockey players in because obviously we're going to go and explore that. When you opened your business in September '98, was it that
yeah,
were you with the frame of mind that I am going after hockey players, or was it general population? And then through serendipity and opportunity, you started to follow this like, now I've got a niche. I didn't even know I had
hmm
really a
hmm
niche here. How did that develop? Because I'm always curious how businesses evolve.
yeah. No, I think it was always going to be hockey. I
Yeah.
mean, that's again the nature of the beast here is hockey. I have a hockey background. I played a lot of sports, but I played hockey primarily. My brothers were good hockey players, so we just kind of it was kind of always part of it. But I could have definitely gone in a different direction. So I started out working at it. There's a small university here in Edmonton called MacEwan University, and I started out working there in their fitness center. I actually did an internship there when I was in my fourth year, just finishing university, and started working there. And it was one of the kind of the first real fitness centers attached to an institution like that in Edmonton. The University of Alberta had something, but not where they were also serving the public. So MacEwan University, we had a facility where we were also serving the public, and they had sports teams. They have volleyball. They have just like typical US. One thing we don't have up here at our schools is baseball and football, but we have hockey instead. So we have basketball, volleyball. Soccer, hockey, or kind of every university has those sports. Some have track and field. The bigger ones will have football. Nobody has baseball though.
Got it.
University of British Columbia is only real baseball school, and they play in the U.S. They play NAIA in the U.S. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they don't
And
even
and
play in Canada.
if I'm not an Oilers fan, how much time do I have before I have to get out of Edmonton?
That's yeah. No, it's interesting because people from Calgary tend to move here for work, and
Ooh,
they stay
get those
diehard
you got to
Calgary, and
extinguish those
vice versa.
flames.
And vice versa. I mean, the cities are only a
Really?
few hours apart, and you'll see, especially in the oil and gas industries, we're kind of more blue collar. Calgary's kind of more white collar, so the corporate headquarters and everything would be in Calgary. So, a lot of times when people they start out blue collar oil and gas, they move up to management positions, they end up having to move to Calgary, and they're Oilers fans living in Calgary. So it's interesting. Yeah,
That's kind of like the
it's
Raiders and Niners used to be.
you know what?
So,
It is a massive rivalry. It is. It's crazy. It's awesome though at the same
it
time. Like
is.
it's so good. It's what would we have up here if we didn't have that? I mean, we're pretty remote in northern Alberta, right? So without the Oilers, you wouldn't have a lot to do really. I mean, we have
I hear
Canadian
you.
football, but we don't have anything else. We've got a college baseball program. Like the West Coast League has a team in Edmonton now. They've only been here for about 3-4 seasons now, but
Yeah.
we have actually have a pretty good history in Edmonton of minor league baseball. We used to have a Pacific Coast League team. We used to have AAA baseball here, and I think just logistically it got too complicated, right,
Sure.
to get up here. But anyway, so I started out McEwen University. While I was there, I was just working in a fitness center, working with General Pop and so forth. Um, kind of started talking to the coaches of the different sports teams. And they're like, hey, you want to put a program together for our team? Nobody was doing anything like that at the time. So I
Ah,
started out, actually, my first reel was volleyball and basketball. The volleyball and basketball coaches came to me and asked me to start working with their team. So
right on.
started doing that, and then McEwen got a hockey team after that, and because I was involved in hockey and I was at the university, they asked me to come on and be an assistant coach. So I did that. So I was coaching hockey, and then of course that organically came. I'm going to be their strength coach too. So I had, for a while there, I had kind of all the teams at the university that I was working with, kind of under my umbrella. So started out there, and then when I really, at the same time, I'd always kind of had my side business. Um, Kind of starting doing my own training while I was working at the university doing that. And then that was more focused on hockey, my side business was, and then it just kind of grew from there.
And so Barry, I'm envisioning just your role as being the private trainer to a lot of burgeoning or existing professional NHL players. So
Mm-hmm.
especially during the off season, after the cup is over, now it's June, and things aren't going to ramp up until like mid to late September at the earliest for preseason conditioning. So you're the off season trainer for
Yep.
NHL guys. Is that what a
Yeah.
lot of what you're
Yeah.
doing? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're doing. And we're right from grassroots. Our youngest athletes will come in at usually 13, 14, 15 years old. That's when they'll start training. So we run a program for them, and all the way up through the majority of our clientele are actually probably junior hockey players,
Hmm.
guys trying to get to the NHL, because it's a small percentage that make it to professional sports, right? And we do have a big group of NHL guys as well, or professional hockey
So
players as well.
how do your programs how do you design your programs to get these junior players toward the level of NHL, because
Mm-hmm.
the S&C coaches in the NHL are really happy when players come in with some good fundamental
Yeah,
knowledge and experience in the
yeah,
weight room. But we're talking multicultural players, international players, and some countries aren't doing any S&C at all. So what does your
no.
program look like?
Well, I, I have a no compromise approach with my athletes. When you're coming to train with us, you're committed to 16 weeks. I mean, we will do shorter if it ends up having to be that because you went to the Stanley Cup final or you went to, the Memorial Cup or, whatever it might be, where you're not back until mid-June. Most of our athletes are done their season right about now, or they're near the end of their playoffs. Although the
Gotcha.
NHL playoffs don't start, but our junior players are U18, U17, U15. Those guys their seasons are done now or just finishing. Those we will start our training program at the end of April, beginning of May. And we train right through until you mentioned mid-September. Well, it's actually more like mid-August. That's when training camp starts for junior
Wow.
hockey, minor hockey. Kind of
Okay.
third week of August is when tryouts start and everything else. The seasons will start usually beginning of October, but it's about a month and a half of a tryout preseason type process. And same with the NHL. The NHL starts kind of second week of September, and then their tryout process. Their seasons will start a little bit later than the junior hockey and so forth, but they'll end a little bit later. And then the big thing we have now is we have a lot of guys playing hockey in Europe now. So that's a completely different season. They
Yeah.
start
So what is the season like? Yeah. Where does that run?
the European guys typically leave about mid-July and head over to Europe. And then they do a really extensive training camp, but they're usually done earlier. Like those seasons are pretty much finished now in Europe. They're usually done March, April.
So, in your eyes, what constitutes a successful, yeah, I don't want to say graduation, but a successful conclusion of off-season training? What are you anticipating, or what kind of expectations do you have for your players or athletes at the end of training with you?
Well, I mean, we obviously, just like anybody, we have our key performance indicators that we're looking at. And I mean, every athlete is going to have different goals, I guess, but for the most part, um, it's a fast game. It's a physical game. We need our guys to be fast. So we do a lot of speed testing. And I'm a huge believer that your off ice speed will translate to your on ice speed. It does 100%.
Has to.
We don't see guys that are fast off ice sprinting. I mean, we'll get ugly sprinters, but they can still move and they can still put force into the ground. They don't look pretty, but they get there. And they're fast off ice, and then they get on ice, and that transfers. It transfers big time. I have never seen a guy who's fast off ice that is, all things being equal, you need to know how to skate. You still need to be proficient at skating, which the guys that I train all are. But I've never seen a guy get faster off the ice and not get faster on the ice. It happens all the time. And we will have guys that are good skaters, but they just don't put out that much power. And then we improve that power output, that force output off the ice, and they get faster on the ice or become stronger skaters. And it's not just about that fast, straight ahead speed in hockey. Hockey's a huge change of direction sport. You're not going in a straight line for very long, like 2-3 steps at best, and then you have to cut, change directions. There's a lot of edge work, a lot of lateral chain type stuff. So back to answering your question, did their speed improve? Did their body composition change for some of them? Put on muscle mass. Not many guys need to lose body fat, but that can be a thing for some of our guys. So we'll monitor that. Did your strength improve? Did your power improve? We'll measure on force plates. So our key testing parameters that we do a 20-meter sprint. We do a pro agility for change of direction. We use force plates to do counter movement jump. We do squat jump. Our hockey players' squat jump is almost as good as their counter movement jump, where you don't see that
Really?
in other. Oh yeah, you don't see that in other athletes. Yeah. So using the EUR, the ratio to squat jump to counter movement jump for hockey players, it's a lot closer to their counter movement jump. They're not that elastic. They're way more muscle driven.
And do you do multi-directional sprints or
Yes.
cone drills, those type of things?
Yes.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
Lots of that type of stuff. We do.
Loaded or with
We'll have
resistance?
we do we do. I do a lot of my linear stuff loaded with
Yeah.
resistance, and I find that has a huge impact on them because skating is a lot more resisted than sprinting is. Sprinting is reactive off the ground. The ground foot contact time is way longer in skating than it is in sprinting. Like they're your foot's on the ground for a long time to take a stride. So it's a lot more muscle driven. So the resisted sprinting helps a lot with them. We have a lot of athletes that really respond well to loaded sprinting. You do loaded sprinting with them, and then you go run regular sprints, and they do really well with it. It activates them really, really well, and they improve their acceleration a lot. And we do, most of our work is acceleration work. Like the furthest we will run at a high speed is 30 meters. We'll do tempo runs, shuttle run type stuff over 50, 75 meters, but we don't do anything fast more than 30 meters.
What about deceleration though? Because I can imagine
Yes.
that's where the most strain, you're
Yes.
eccentrically loading, and those are the times where you're going to run into some trouble,
Yeah.
adductor strains, and a whole bunch
Mm-hmm.
of other nasty stuff's going to
Yeah.
occur. So what does that look like?
We will do a lot of decel work, a lot of stop and change direction stuff, kind of like the pro agility, but we'll build that into our sprinting. So it might be lateral shuffles to plant and change direction, plant and change direction. So it might be 2 or 3 shuffles, put your foot in the ground and go the other way. It might be sprint forward, decel moving forward, couple steps back, sprint again. It might be decel with a lateral movement and then turn and sprint forward. What I do with my change direction, lateral decel type stuff is we actually start early in the summer and we do something that we call a variable shuttle run. And really, it is just simply shuttle runs where we add in a lot of lateral movement to it. So
Hmm.
it might be skip forward, skip backward, lateral shuffles, karaoke, lateral crossovers, things like that. So the shuttle run might have 4 components to it, and we will have the athletes go over usually 25, 30 meters down and back. So they might go skip down, skip back, lateral shuffle down, lateral shuffle back, high knee skip down, high knee skip back, karaoke down, karaoke back. So what we're doing with that is we're getting our conditioning in, but at the same time, we're challenging the adductors and the abductors in the hips that are really, really important for these guys. And we're almost building up endurance in them. But meanwhile, while we're doing this in our training program, we're doing a lot more strength work for those areas. Then we will transition into more of our agility work, our change of direction work, our decel type stuff, where now we're challenging that lateral chain from a strength power type of a standpoint. Yeah. So that's, yeah, and it's in there all summer in some
And
capacity.
what about like impact resiliency? Like when you're doing these drills and you got somebody maybe with a kickboxing pad, and just
Mm-hmm.
either have to check or they get checked and they have to respond and keep on going through the drill.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
not to
don't,
get
we
too
don't,
fancy, but I'm
No, I
wondering.
know what you're saying. Yeah, we don't really do much of that stuff. I have done a little bit of that, but we don't really do much of that. You got to realize, I mean, these guys they're doing that on the ice. Like
Yeah,
they're taking a lot of contact on the ice. Like even in summer skates where they're doing small area games and things like that, they're getting into battle drills, and that's a big thing in hockey. So they do a lot of that. Rocky, these guys are incredible decelerators. Hockey players can put
I
on the
could only
brakes
imagine.
like
I mean,
that. Like we run,
maybe soccer players potentially could be up there to some
yeah,
degree, but
yeah,
hockey way more.
way more. Like the fact that that's how you stop and change directions on the ice. Like it's an instant stop, go the other way, like instantly. There's no, and they will do it at high speeds. But the fact that you can put the blade in the ice and stop, it makes it easier than just having it to do it on your feet, right? But it's like you watch these guys sprint, and you will get guys that are fast, and they'll sprint 20 meters, and they'll stop in 3 steps, 4 steps. And we have to tell them, hey, you're going to beat your shins up if you keep doing that. Coast it out, slow it down. Like you watch a sprinter. We've had some sprinters in the gym, and they can't, like, we have about 40 meters inside, and then we have a bay door that we open up, so our hockey players can sprint 20 meters and have 20 meters to slow down. They only need about 5 to 10 to slow down, but you get a sprinter in there and he can barely stop by the time he hits the wall. But our hockey players, they just put the brakes on, they just stop. They run 20 meters full out as fast as they can. Then you hear, and they just stop, just pitter patter, brakes on, walk back, no big deal. Like
Wow.
they're good at it. Like that's they do it on the ice, right? So it's they're really good at decelling. So we don't, even though it's a big part of the sport, and we do spend time training it to more make them resilient. We really probably don't need to that much because they
Yeah.
do it all the time on the ice.
Well, what about restorative recovery, regeneration? I mean, there's got to
Yeah.
be that because they're year-round athletes. There's no downtime really to speak of, and if they do, it's maybe a week or two before they show up at your door. And so now you're trying to get them ready for the next season, but there's got to be this beautiful dance that you're coordinating right now, whether you're using GPS or the counter jump, or the force plates themselves. Like, how are
Yeah.
you determining when it's time to pull the reins and go, we need regen right now?
That's the biggest battle.
Yeah.
These guys have no downtime, and it's killing most of them. It's ruining a lot of them because they. I always tell my guys, your goal should be to try and be off your skates for 8 weeks at some point in the year. 8 weeks off. That never happens, so we
No.
settle for 4. Like if we can get 4, they feel better, they move better, everything is better. So to answer your question, yeah, we have tools that we can look at that. Hey, their speed is down, their jump testing is down. We don't do any GPS type stuff. It's just not our world. If I was with a team and we did it on the ice, great, but we don't see these guys with their teams very often. But what we see more than anything is we can guys come in, hip flexors jacked up, low backs jacked up, and we're like, okay, why is this happening? I'm in a camp, I'm on the ice, every day, and I'm in here training. I'm like, okay, something's got to give somewhere. So then we start making our adjustments on our end, because it's not going to happen with the on ice stuff. Or we get kids that'll come in and be like, oh, I had 2 skates today, and I'm like, why? Why are you skating twice today? Like what are you getting out of it? And then that's a big battle, right? That's a big battle, is trying to that's the element that we don't have control of. And it makes our job really, really challenging. The guys that are really good and really smart and understand their bodies, they give themselves that time. They know that the training is more important right now, and they'll get back on the ice, and they're not going to forget how to skate. They're not going to lose their speed. They're not going to lose anything. They'll actually be better. And we actually saw that during COVID, Rocky. We were allowed to do some training during COVID, but the arenas weren't open. Guys weren't allowed to get on the ice. They couldn't get on the ice.
Wow.
So we had a huge period of time where there was no skating, and our guys got so good. They got so fast, they got so strong. They had their injuries, the little things that would bug them, like the hip flexors and the low backs that they tend to get, the groin stuff. We actually don't get a ton of groin stuff, as much as you would think. And
That's
maybe
good.
it's just, yeah, it is. It's great, and maybe it's just the way we've always trained that they become resilient to that. But we saw during that period of time where there was a lot of time away from the rink, guys got real, real good. They got real good. I have a great story about one of my athletes who, I don't know if you know what the Ivan Halinka or the Halinka Gretzky tournament is. It's the World U18 Championship, and they have it in August, which is, we won't get into the timing of that tournament. It's the worst time to have it, but they have it in August. He gets invited to it last year, plays for Team Canada, um, doesn't get on the ice till about a week, maybe week and a half before the tournament. Whereas most people, as soon as they got that call, they'd be like, I better skate every day. I got to go to this tournament. And he was like, no, I'll just train. I'll be fine. Week and a half before the tournament. And he had a great tournament. He was one of their better players. So, but he understands that. And that, I can explain that to athletes, but they have to come to that conclusion themselves. That this, I feel better when I take that time off and take the break from skating, and just, there's a time of year for this is what we do. But it's hard because it's hard. Ice is expensive. there's people running skating camps, running skills development. They have a business to run too. So you kind of have to do it when it's available. So you can't, it's hard for a lot of people to really manage their skating the way that they would like to, because they're at the mercy of, well, when is the camp being run that I have to go to or that I should go to for my power skating or my skill development. So it's hard, but we try. But back to what you were saying, yeah, we see that. Like we see, but the restorative stuff that we do early in the off season, that's kind of our goal. These guys are in the
Mhm.
same position all the time, right? They're bent over at the waist, they're rounded through their shoulders. So we really try to open them up and try to lengthen out their hip flexors and do a lot of that work early in the year. And it's really just your general, your GPP stuff. Get them moving through, big ranges of motion. You know, try to hit everything, try to kind of restore everything. And then we do a lot of like myofascial release type stuff. And then the guys that need it, we have people that can get their hands on them and do whatever they might need from that standpoint.
And for those kind of professionals, are they under your roof, or do you refer out and you have a team, a network around the greater Calgary area? I
Edmonton.
mean, Edmonton. Sorry, Edmonton. Whoa, there's a slip.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all
Everybody in Edmonton. Damn.
right. Little bit of both. Little bit of both.
Okay.
We have a really unique setup with our gym, with our summer gym. We actually take a curling rink and turn it into a gym. We have a 20,000 square foot space, and we've been in there
Wow.
since 2004. So they operate as a curling rink all winter, so they have ice in. And then right about this time of year, in the next week or so, we'll be moving in there. They just take the ice out. It's basically a big warehouse with a cement floor. We have all of our equipment stored in a 40-foot sea can, like a full gym, 40-meter sprint lane, 6,000 square feet of turf, 12 squat racks, you name it. We set it up for 5 months, take it down, store it for the winter. That's our
Oh
setup.
my gosh. So growing up in New England, we would have to go and take our boxes out of the attic or down from the basement and take out our winter clothes and put away our summer clothes. But
Yeah,
that's nothing compared to
yeah,
what you just
yeah.
described, brother. How long does that take?
Honestly, a few days.
That's it. You've got the
Yeah,
system down.
yeah, yeah. We got the system down. We're fortunate at times. I trained a junior hockey team last year. The time we were moving in was kind of right at the sweet spot where they were done their season, but waiting for playoffs to start, and they had a gap. So I said, "Boys, this is what we're doing for training today." Brought them
Nice.
in. 3 4 hours, they had all the equipment moved in. My trainers stayed in the gym while they brought the equipment in, put it together while they brought it in. We had it done in an afternoon. It was awesome. Usually it's 2 or 3 days if we don't have all that help, but yeah, it's not
Holy
hard to get the
cow.
help.
And that
And
goes
then
until September? What?
yeah,
No,
September.
August.
Yeah, yeah, we move in usually mid-April and move out first weekend of September. We move it all out. Yeah, 2 3 days either end
And you've been doing this how long?
since 2004.
Oh
21
my
years now.
gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Um,
we train as trainers to be able to do that for 3 days.
no kidding.
That's what we do.
Okay,
Yeah.
do any of the curlers stick around and do training there
No.
when the ice moves? Oh,
No, but yes. I have a girl that
they
I
become
train.
janitors and they have a broom and they
That's right.
basically
That's right.
clean the gym, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be amazed. So I train the women's world champ. She's the best curler in the world. Rachel
I bet
Holman's her
she's
name.
just hard as nails.
Yeah, but she's the most. If you Google Rachel Holman and you watch her throw a rock, you'd be like, look at her eyes. She's the most dialed in, intense person you will ever see on TV. Because everybody asks me, the question is always, man, what's she like? She looks like she's not very nice. She's a sweetheart, but she's just dialed in. She's good at her sport. But yeah, she just won the world championships a couple of weeks ago, so she's back to back world champ. But in curling, like the sweepers, incredible athletes. Like these girls, I shouldn't say incredible athletes. It's not athletic in the sense that hey, you
Technicians.
can
They're
go.
amazing
Yes, but
technicians.
strong. Like the girls that have to
Yeah.
sweep are super strong. Their shoulders are jacked. Yeah, it's just different. So, anyways, um, on a tangent, yes, I do work with one curler, and she happens to be the best in the world. Um, but
Well, what about this? How about the NHL? Right,
yeah,
you've got, and for that matter, you've got other hockey organizations internationally. You got the AHL.
hmm
You got all these different. Have you set up over the course of years any kind of formal arrangements, or is it just through word of mouth where, like,
yeah,
okay, you're heading back to Edmonton, I want you to
yeah.
contact Barry, you're going to need some work in the off season, and he's the man for you. Is that what goes on more or
Yeah,
less?
that's exactly. It's pretty organic. Like there's no formal relationship with anybody. I've got some relationships where I have different strength coaches on different teams that I'll talk to a little bit more than others, but like been doing this a long time, Rocky. So it
Yeah, you're
tends to
like the
be like,
Mike Boyle of Alberta is really what you're
yeah,
telling me.
yeah, basically, and it ends up being word of mouth, and people will reach out, and it's just kind of almost become, this is the destination, that this is what you're going to do if you live in this area. At some point you're going to probably end up training with us at some point in your career. And usually, like all my guys that are playing in the NHL right now, those guys all started with me when they were 13, 14 years old. Like I
Yeah,
don't
I
get
looked at
them.
the roster. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got. I had to keep on scrolling, dude.
yeah,
It kept on going. I thought, when is this page going to end? You have
yeah.
got a lot of athletes that have been under your tutelage, so that's
Yeah.
really quite
Yeah. And
impressive.
that's the fortunate thing for us. We get them. We don't just, it's not one and dones. Like we have these guys for a number of years, so we can make a real difference. We really can. And I mean, I've got friends that have worked with NHL teams, have been in organizations, and I have these conversations with them, and they're like, man, I wish I got to do what you do, because I get to train, I get to actually
You get the
see the
good one.
performance changes. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have to deal with
Yeah.
them.
And you have creative license also.
Yes,
You've got
absolutely.
a lot more freedom in many ways. Barry, how about this? I'm just kind of curious. If we go back to the weight room for a second.
Yes.
Of course, we've got lateral and diagonal action, decel, acceleration, all that. How much does that carry over into your selection of lifts? Because,
Does.
obviously a lot is sagittal plane
hmm
bias, but are we talking diagonal squats, lunges, step ups,
Yes,
lateral crossovers, and those type of things loading into those patterns?
exactly. That's
Thank
exactly
you.
it. Like
Good.
like we squat we do traditional stuff. I mean,
Sure.
I love the traditional stuff. I think guys need to be strong. The other thing about our hockey players is most of them don't have the huge training background that a football player would have, or even a basketball, baseball players that get to
Really,
grow
that
up
far
in a
north?
U.S. high
No.
school. Yeah, not really. Like they don't
Huh.
train that much, right? Like they play hockey generally, and they don't do a lot of team stuff in season. When they're with their junior hockey teams, they train, but it's not it's not that great, to be honest.
I
It's not a
see.
lot. Their schedules are busy,
It's
right?
not really comprehensive, is what you're saying.
No, it's not. So most of our guys are pretty raw. They're pretty unless they've been with us for a number of years, or in a program like ours for a number of years in the off season, their training age is pretty low. So the basics get a lot of great results for us, right? They do get a lot out of that, but we do have a lot of very specific exercises that we would do with them, like a lateral squat or a lateral lunge or crossover step up, or we do some stuff on the landmine, like leaning into the landmine and doing a single leg lateral. We do a lot of single leg work. These guys are really, really good on one leg, Rocky. Really good.
I can imagine.
Yeah, like if you see some of the stuff that speed skaters do, that stuff is crazy. Like it's mind boggling, because my hockey players are really, really good at a lot of that single leg stuff, and then we'll see a speed skater do something that's, oh, let's try this, and our guys can't even come close to doing it. Speed skaters are on a
Wow.
whole other level. But yeah, we do a lot of that type of stuff. Our program is kind of laid out in a sense where we train 5 days a week. The younger guys will train a little bit less, but generally speaking, our junior and our pro guys will train 5 days a week. We will have kind of our heavy leg days on Monday, more of a traditional day, but it's always got a bilateral, unilateral, whether it's a single leg or a split squat of some sort, but there'll be a squat in there. Like we still squat, we squat all summer. We squat the entire, it's just different variations on it. And then we kind of go to on Wednesday, more of our speed power day. And then Friday is back to, more of a traditional day, where again, a lot more single leg work on that day. And then we always have a component on each of our workouts where we're doing something away from the weight room that would complement what we're doing in the weight room on that phase. So if we're doing some power stuff in the weight room, we're sprinting that day. If we're doing our heavier work in the weight room, that's usually, we might early in the year, that might be a conditioning away from the weight room where we might do those variable shuttle runs that I talked about, but that would be more of a agility, change of direction type work, because that stuff requires the strength, right? So so that's kind of what we do. We run stairs every single Friday. We run stairs. These guys are super fit.
Where are the stairs? How many steps are we talking?
It's a good question. It's kind of like two big flights. So
like
I don't
80
even know
maybe?
how many steps. Yeah, maybe. It takes probably 30 seconds to run up them, if that. And then we just jog down. So we'll do it like shuttle run type style where we do sets. We'll say up and down 4 times, take your recovery heart rate. We use heart rate to recover with, or if they don't have their heart rate, just give them a minute and a half rest, go again. So we run basically stairs. Our facility is right in a river valley, really beautiful part of the city. And we have an unbelievable trail system in Edmonton, like unbelievable.
Oh, nice.
Running through the river valley, and the city has built stairs coming up out of the river valley all over the place. So there's no shortage of places to run and do that type of work. And we have a big field right outside our facility. Most of our running we can do right inside because it's short distances. But if we're going to do like longer shuttle runs, and we do I started doing something with the guys about 2 years ago, like tempo runs, like Charlie Francis tempo run type stuff, but we build it into more of a conditioning shuttle run type thing. So we'll do tempo run for 50 meters, walk across 25 meters, just walk, recover, tempo run back, recover, and we'll do that like 4 times. That's kind of our conditioning. Like we won't do we'll do bike rides on our upper body days as conditioning, but our guys need to be fit. Like they need to be really fit and really resilient. That's so we spend a lot of time doing that type of stuff, and then building into more of our speed work, our change of direction work as the summer moves on.
I love it. That is so amazing, so comprehensive. I mean, you've got
It
it.
has
I
to
mean,
be.
of course.
Yeah.
Wow. And how many
Like
years now you've been going on? 27, something like that?
20 something. Yeah. Yeah.
Getting up
26. I
there?
guess. Yeah.
So
Yes,
I guess one of my last questions is just I'm curious from a personal perspective of how you're coaching your own, like there's a voice inside a coach,
Mhm.
and it determines what kind of message wants to come out of the mouth before it actually comes out. There is this almost delay of here's what I want to say, but here's the person I want to relate it to. What is the best way to coach and motivate this individual? You know the voice I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
How has that evolved for you? Like and you don't have to give me like
No.
specifics, but how has that evolved? Because it's something I'm constantly kind of just aware of that I'm constantly doing based on the person that's in front of me.
I totally agree with you. And we do all of our training in small groups. Like it's not one-on-one. And we do that completely on purpose because we want them competing with each other. Also, it's a better business model, let's be honest.
Yeah, right.
But it creates competition, and it works really, really well. So what you're saying, I might have to change from second to second how I talk to one athlete versus the other. There's
Yeah.
guys that I can just bark at right now. Hey, do that. And they're like, yeah, got it. There's other guys that I have to bring them in, talk a little quieter to them, explain it a little more detailed to them. But you're 100% right. That is something that I have been forever trying to evolve and just be better and figure out what works best with which athlete. Because I'm very much the blunt to the point type of a coach, type of a person.
Sure.
I'm not a big motivator, rah, sit there and pump you up before you're going to squat kind of guy. That's not what I do. But when I see something that I want to address or correct, there's not, like you said, do I stop and think about it? I try to, but I don't always. Quite often it's just like I see it, it's in my head, I need to say it. Hey Billy, this is what I want you to do. And but then with other athletes, that comes across almost harsh, I guess, sometimes. And I have to kind of step back and be like, hey, like I catch myself a lot of times making a comment and then going up to the guy after and saying, hey, like, I didn't mean to bark at you, but I just wanted to kind of catch you in the moment of when I saw the error happening or whatever it might be that I needed to correct. And it's kind of like right now, hey, this is what I want. But I'll do that the other way too. When I see something where we're trying to make a change with an athlete and I'll see something, then, hey, you got it, you get it, like you're doing it now. And I'll get excited and I'll yell across the gym, yes, that's what I want to see. Right. So it's I guess my coaching style, it has to evolve and I have to consciously think about it, but I tend to sometimes be more the blunt and to the point. So I try to surround myself with my other trainers where they're a little bit more low key and a little bit more mellow and thoughtful than I am. And so we work well together.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, this conversation's flown by as I knew it would. If
Yeah.
people want to find out more about Premier Strength up in Edmonton or about yourself or the programs that are going on, what's the best way aside from, of course, your website premierstrength.com? But can they
Yeah.
follow you on Instagram? Are you giving any presentations on a speaking tour of any type, or what do you
Yeah,
do?
that speaking stuff. I mean, I taught at a university for 15 years, and
Yeah,
I've never really gotten into that side of things of presenting and so forth. Even my Instagram, I don't put a lot of content on there. I don't. It's just not something that I've ever really, first of all, found time for or gotten into. But we do
sure.
have Instagram. It's Instagram is geez, what is it, at premier_strength, I believe. It is. You should be able to find it if I'm just going to
I'll
look on
hunt
my
it down.
Instagram.
I'll hunt
Yeah,
it down and I'll
I
put it
think
in the
it's
descriptions. Don't you worry.
premier_strength. I'm pretty sure was what my Instagram is. But then, yeah, premierstrength.com. I have a email address, phone number on there. Anybody can reach out. And I mean, I love talking training. I love talking strength and conditioning. I could do this forever. But that's probably the next step in my life, is to put some of this stuff into a product or something like that to put out there. I listen to everybody that's out there doing it, and I love it, and I love listening to podcasts like yours, and I just kind of eat up all the information. And I always get from my son and my trainers, when are you going to do something like that? And I'm like, I don't know. I like just listening to
Yeah.
people.
All in good time. What you
Yeah,
shared today will last quite a bit, and you
yeah.
did give quite a bit of great knowledge and experience. So I can't thank you enough for coming on.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
And there you have it, another fantastic episode. I want to thank Barry for coming on. Can't wait to see what other future stars he's going to be training. Remember the NSCA National Conference. That will be July 16th to the 19th. I've got a 2-hour workshop on open and closed chain foot mobilization. Kansas City, Missouri. Check it out on nsca.com. Also, check out my website, rockysnyder.com, for more online courses that you can take, as well as in person. Speaking of in person, performbetter.com. Go register for that 3-day functional summit near you. And check out my book, Return to Center. We'll see you next week.